feel that we are probably a target because we do not believe the same things as a lot of fundamentalists believe. And not only do we not believe in those things, we embrace groups, diverse groups, that many people are shouting from the skies that they don't want, or they don't want to have any power in this country. And we spoke a little bit about some of the things that we have done to make our church safer. But I have heard this question from several people, and I know that I think it was Kate and Jack and Lisa and maybe some other folks that were on the committee to make the church safer, and have done a great number of things, including installing inside locks on the back office and all of the classrooms, so that if something did happen, at least we would be able, to go in there and lock the door and keep the children safe. They've also done other things outside to keep the children safe as they play outside. But it might be a good idea if that team would reconvene and maybe give I think this has actually been done now that I think about it, but maybe just give the church a rundown on what they found when they studied that, on what has already been done, because we do still want to celebrate diversity.
Anyone not represented?
So I was with Leslie and Laura, and some of the things that we really like about the church, we come here for community, and we like that you can be involved, or you can sit quietly in the back, or meet people for coffee. Okay, sorry. So we all enjoy coming here for the sense of community, and like I bring my daughter, and Laura brings her son Etienne here, and we like that. We know they're in a community of people with, similar values and morals, and we can come here at least one day a week, and our children are exposed to people with similar values. And several of us would like the announcements maybe to be moved to the end of the service. We've seen that in other churches where the announcements come at the end. When you come in and you're kind of in a meditative state, and the welcoming and the music and the lovely, the sermons, but in the middle of that is all these announcements. So maybe if that could be at the end. I believe in Tallahassee they do that, and I thought that was nice. And again, I know this has come up over the years, but changing the name from church to maybe congregation or community. I know that has been debated a lot, but we're just bringing that up again.
My group was me, Tom, and Dolly, and we talked about the importance of the community that we've created here. We talked about the importance of being in a room full of people that, to quote Dolly, give a damn if you're not here, and that's important, for all of us to be within that loving group. And one of the things that Tom had brought up as well that we all agreed was one of the things that is important for us to do, or one of the things that we do well here, is the constant search for truth. This idea that we don't know what what's out there and all the big questions of the world, but what we do like is that we're constantly searching, that we're looking at science, we're looking at faith and the combinations of that. And then Dolly had also mentioned too that these feelings of, us thinking and feeling aren't necessarily different. That they're the same thing, part of the same psyche that allows us to be unique in our contributions, not only here but then also in the larger community. So I get it right? Cool. All right.
I was talking with Arnie, and he's a new member, and he seemed to arrive just at the right time in his life, and just in the right time of our church. And he feels like he loves the diversity in the services. And I know by looking at the Justice Badge that I know that he's happy with our involvement in the justice movement here in town. And, so he feels like it's perfect. I too would love to see more families. I'd love to have a Christmas party and have a full room.
So I was with Rob, and we were talking, kind of echoing on a lot of the things. The word groundedness came up, and the word loss. And as we reflected on the losses of some of the significant members over the years, and Reverend Bob in particular, but all of those longtime members, looking at how those folks, through their involvement and through being here for a long time, brought us to think more deeply about our varying spiritual and religious beliefs and that search for truth and meaning, and how with them being gone that we've lost some of that. So while we're grounded, we also recognize how our interactions socially and spiritually with other members, changed us over the years, and kind of looking to see how that would continue to happen with the congregation as we look today.
Okay, so the next section, first let me just reflect. Did anybody hear any differences in the views of the people of the congregation? Were there varying desires that you heard? Were there varying emphasis that you heard? Yes. Why do we come together? How does that work? What makes us work?
And also our mission statement and the principles and the respect.
And it's really interesting. When I first heard about UU, and I had a friend that went, I said, how can you possibly do that? She was raised as a Jewish person. He was raised in Christianity. I said, what do you do at church? And that's what we do at church. And, I guess if we leave here today with only the realization that we do it together, and the reasons that we do it together, and we continue to support this congregation, may that be so. We do have another part of this program, and we have specifically designed the program to start the thinking process, and then we're going to stop the congregation around 11 o'clock, and then we will continue in second hour with many of the things that you've brought up. So in the process, I'm going to read a little bit about our growing ministry. And these are some of the topics that we're going to cover. And I'm going to start with, and many of you have brought up minister as ministry. Minister is one of our ministries. Having a minister is only a piece. And sometimes we don't think about that. We think of ministry as the minister rather than seeing that all that we are doing is ministry. So we're going to talk about that as a one-piece item of ministry. So we're going to grow our community. Reverend Alice Silty came to us as a part-time consulting minister under a year-to-year contract. And our elected governing board has taken careful consideration of the wishes of this congregation. They have listened, as well as maintaining a healthy balance of the financial stability of the church. So upon careful consideration, there is not a plan currently to search for a full-time minister for UUCP. The current budget does not financially support compensation for a full-time minister, nor for the process of search. Search is an expensive process as well. So there's a financial amount to having somebody come and visit our congregation, and we kind of seek them out. And then there's a follow-up to actually pay a full-time minister. Fortunately, Reverend Alice and our congregation have both found ministry together with common goals and forward-thinking ideas. She commutes from Huntsville for about 20 services a year. That's our contract. And when she's here, she avails herself for meetings with members and teams. She's available by phone or email for consultation with the ministry teams and members of the congregation. I'm going to pause here because one of the things that people have brought up is the availability and not getting to know her. And I have reflected on who are the people that do get to know her. Those are the people that are in the teams. Those are the people that are meeting with her regularly. Those are the people that have contact with her. So if you are not a part of one of the ministry teams or you are not active in that, the question I have, and I often ask myself, when I don't know somebody, what have I done to avail myself to know them better? Have I invited them over? Have I talked with them? Have I invited them to something that I went to or I wanted to go to? Have I gone out for lunch with them? Have I availed myself? And often I don't think we think about doing that with a minister. We anticipate the minister to do that. However, do we do that with other people that come that are newer members to our church? Do we reach out to them? Do we make a special welcome to them on Sunday? And do some of us, or many of us, follow up and invite them to something that we know would be interesting to them? It's always a question I have for myself when I'm frustrated that I don't know someone. She also provides Sunday service guidance and guidance for the children's RE program and many of the extensive programming that we do here at UUCP. But the transition from full-time to part-time ministry has given us perhaps an opportunity for different speakers and topics of interest. It's interesting that Barbara brought up their group actually had paid speakers in the past. We currently do not pay our speakers. Our speakers are within the community inside UUCP, but it's also community outside in Pensacola. So we do have varied ministry to us by community members.
We are, a lot of this will be, an additional opportunity will be availed at the second hour, and really encourage you to stay because you have come up with so many things, and variety of ideas of what your feelings are, what you see, what you want, and 15 minutes is not enough time, so just. I'm going to just give you some highlights of things that we will be talking about in the second hour, and one of them is social justice, and that is our heart. That is where we want our efforts to be, and we have spent a lot of time by participation in the Martin Luther King Parade, the Pride in the Park. And we recently joined a coalition of 20 local congregations in the Interfaith Justice Coalition called Just Pensacola. And if you see people wearing, I don't know what they're buttons, with justice, ask them about it because it's very, very cool. And the coalition has identified community problems and is researching the solutions that could be implemented to bring about justice in the community, the greater community. And two issues that will be researched by this group is criminal justice and education. This provides us to bring our faith into action. were also actively, or had been actively involved in the local race and reconciliation, anti-racist dialogues, and related activities within the community. And I think we should actually break for a song, a hymn. And please remain seated. Open your hymns to 168, One More Step. Would the choir is invited up if you would like to come up one more step. You got toys? I am so pleased to see so many of you came back for additional conversation. This is encouraging to us, to Nancy and I, that people are interested in our community, our beloved community, and we have a good foundation, a very good foundation of who we are, what we want to be, and our vision for the future. And I'm going to go through each bullet here, and we'll break between to give you an opportunity to, again, I'm not sure we'll break up into groups as much as it might generate conversation and thoughts that you would like to share with us. And we have our reporter, our recorder, Lauren, who has good handwriting, so that's a plus. The first bullet is membership and leadership, and we have come up with some highlights for us that we think are important, but that is only our thoughts. So we want your thoughts as well. UUCP celebrated its 60th anniversary in 2018, and the events included a banquet, video screening, special event, release of a coloring book. We also dug up our time capsule from the 50th anniversary and buried a new time capsule to be retrieved at our 75th anniversary. The following information is something that we have gleaned from a webinar that's been created by UUA, and it is specifically intended for small congregations. According to studies of small congregations, the ideal membership is 120. UUCP has 103 people as members and another 22 as friends. We have an average of 55 people attending Sunday services. And in October 20th, we had 11 people join our community and had a very nice membership reception. It was really very nice. Included in that were 8 children. Our membership at UUCP has maintained with or without a full-time minister. There's very little fluctuation in over the years. So it's been hovering around 100 people. Our 10 core ministry teams, we have, of those 10 core ministry teams, there are 3, CRE, Buildings and Grounds, and Caring, do not presently have a team leadership. I open this up now for comments and thoughts about this, calling it strengths, opportunity, and challenge.
Excuse me, I need to interrupt, but I can't find my red clutch bag, which is my I saw one over there. I know that's what I left it there. Thank you, I'm sorry. Supports one another.
And finds purses. Good. All right. Are there anybody would like to make a comment about this?
I have a question. Is it inappropriate for our CRE coordinator to be the CRE team leader? Is that inappropriate?
I don't know if that's inappropriate.
Well, I think, about can we discuss it?
I've actually had some talks about that subject with Sarah, and my understanding of what Sarah said is that she feels swamped and overwhelmed, and that's why she wants a team leader, is to have some help.
So it's not inappropriate, it's something she needs help.
I don't know about the appropriateness. I don't like that.
I would just say that, so the CRE coordinator has a specific job description, and really part of that job description is to support the team, as well as recruiting volunteers, supporting volunteers, etc. So she's a staff member, whereas the teams are reflective of the congregation and the membership. And then the other piece of it is that, in particular with the CRE team, maybe a little bit different than some of the other teams, is that it is accountable to the families. And so the team leadership really should come from the parents, so that the CRE coordinator is accountable to the parents, and that it's not an island unto itself, that, you know, she's thinking of everything and executing it and doing it and everything else, and the parents don't have any, not to say they wouldn't have any input, but that it's sort of deferred to the staff member, and then it becomes that she's sort of not only being a paid staff, but also other time is being put in, and it just doesn't have a lot of flow of thoughts and feelings back and forth if you don't have the parents having some accountability and way of contributing in that. Does that make sense? So the difference is that, yes, kind of to your point, maybe logistically, because we have a paid staff person that's responsible for that team, that the tasks tend to get done, but the parents are volunteering in the classroom. So it's not that there's no other involvement. It's just that there's not a single person or team that have stepped up and said, I'll be the leader for that. Does that make sense? So a lot of the tasks get done and we don't really notice maybe the gaps as much, but the intent of how we are a congregation contributing isn't expressed when there's not a leader or a leadership. Is that, yeah.
I have a question about the small studies of congregations. I know some of you have seen them. How many have seen that? In that small congregations, what's the recommendation for ministerial services? Is a full-time minister what they recommend for a small congregation, what they can afford? Anybody want to respond to that? I'm sure Lauren knows. Do other people? Yes. Aaron? Yeah.
Other people who have watched this can help me, but they don't make recommendations. They were just showing what other congregations have done, and most of them are doing something really out of the box. There's one that is completely lay-led. There is one that I think had a minister from a different denomination come in as a speaker, not necessarily as their minister, but they had a certain number of Sundays a month that minister would come visit them. What else have they done? There was a shared ministry. So, I mean, the
shared ministry meaning minister.
Yeah, where two
minister.
Congregations shared a minister, and it was part-time for each of them. But the UUA is not saying, we think you should do this. They're saying, this is what other churches your size are doing, and it is not necessarily the traditional, here's the church, here's the steeple, here's the minister. It's very much out of the box these days, because church looks a lot different.
Okay. And financially, do they find that they can support full-time ministers? They don't. A small congregation typically does not support. Under 150, it's very difficult to support full-time ministry. Okay.
In this age of technology, is there anything that we might do, like with streaming, a talk from somewhere else?
It's a creative idea. I don't know.
I just wanted to give a plug that not everybody has been able, I haven't been able to make those meetings, and we are having some, we're replaying the small ministry congregations, whatever it is. January 16th is going to be the first one during the day at 10 o'clock here. And January 30th, we'll be replaying the second one. So if you did miss those and you're interested, these are daytime programs that maybe some people could get to that weren't able to get to the nighttime meetings.
Yeah, it is a problem for people who don't drive at night. When these evening things come up, they're things they would, that they are interested in. But it's just not something they can do.
Right,
I think there's a good number of us in the congregation.
Hopefully that will be a good date, because we really are going to play all of them. We're going to go through all of them, just the ones that went at night. We're going to do the same ones in the daytime. And the series.
Just to tag on to Penny is they will be advertised.
They're in the light.
They are in the light and probably be brought up in announcements on Sundays. So.
I'm not sure what question is upon us right now, so forgive me if this is off topic. But membership, to me, is something we need to look at more carefully, preceding what we want to do about minister. We have done almost every single thing that's been mentioned in here as what all these other people are doing. The big question for me in this congregation after nearly 40 years is, why is our membership so very low right now? lower than it's been in years and years and years. And why was it peaked back when we were over in the dumpy little poof building at 130? I've raised this question before, but I don't think we've answered the question, and I think we need to. What is it that has happened over the years that has caused the decline? Part of it is societal. Most churches are declining. I do understand that. Part of it is location. This was not, I think, although our building is much better, our actual physical location is outside of the area of more liberal intellectual people in Pensacola in general. And there may be some other factors. We have not done a needs assessment. We've not found out what people are wanting and needing, which may go way beyond the minister. I'd just like to, and retention has been a problem from the beginning. We're much better at welcoming than we are at retaining people. And that's something we need to be looking at, those deeper questions, and that may lead us to what we need to do about leadership and ministry.
Can I ask for clarification on what the question or what
Absolutely.
our goal? Yeah.
Clarification on what?
On what we're discussing.
What we're discussing.
Make sure I stay.
We were just talking about some of the information from small congregations, not everybody's seen all of that, and what are we doing with our church and sort of what we do have, what we are working with. And so it's comments and reflections.
Also, strengths, challenges, and
Strength. Okay. I just wanted to share from the perspective of not everyone knows, but I'm entering seminary in a couple of weeks here. I'm been spending a lot of time talking to people in all the different groups in the communities and asking them specifically what brings them to, what keeps them and what brings them to congregations, and just to get their feedback on what they're saying. And because of my work with David Brooks and the Second Mountain and looking at connecting with humans. And what I'm hearing a lot of people saying to me is that they don't want to be told how to believe. They're sick and tired of that. But what they're craving and what this is affirming is they need that family sense of family and community and connection with the larger social and I think we're right on track. I think that's where we're at. It's a matter of PR and communication elements here, and in my opinion. And so to your point, that the idea of really seeking to, and I come from a marketing background, so that probably is coloring this, but the element of really getting the word out there of what we are in other formats. So.
Okay. One of the things that strikes me is that the one area of growth that is probably the most significant is our children's RE program this year. As you knew, and you saw who was here last Sunday, and going from 4 or 5 children to probably 12 to 14 active members. And when you bring in children, then you bring in parents and you bring in extended family, partners, fathers, mothers. So another piece. Okay, social justice.
This is just kind of a follow-up to Trista's comment. I first learned about UU when there was pretty much at least a half-page article about UU when you all were down on Scott Street. A new minister had come, and among other things, in that article were printed the principles. And while I did not darken the doors of your congregation for many years after that, it stuck with me. And when I was searching, that's how I ended up here. And I don't know if there's any way for us to look at that PR piece. I notice from time to time some churches, and I know this is very expensive, do particularly at the holidays, come join us, et cetera, with a half page or whatever. But maybe that's something that we might want to also look at, if we could somehow connect with people who are doing things like news articles, magazines, and all those Bella and all those other ones they're putting out now. So.
Jack has something over here on the left.
what struck me with the comments of the first hour is there was one unifying thing, and Trista mentioned it, the community, the sense of community. Okay, all of the other things that were mentioned were extremely diverse. I mean, if you just heard that, you would sort of think, why in the world would anybody be here? They don't have anything in common. So that we do have a very, and I think everybody realizes that, a very strong sense of community. And going back, you have membership and leadership. Okay. I think the leadership in this organization is extremely strong. So you have various people that do a tremendous amount of work, and I don't, that can mean that they could get burned out. But the thing is, what I see is that they really enjoy doing it. And that's a very strong, strength.
It's a strong statement, too.
I hope I'm correct.
I think you are.
I just want to say that I am losing my hearing much sooner than I thought would happen. And if you're not used to a microphone, hold it up to your mouth and speak into it, please. I really want to hear what y'all have to say.
We did talk about social justice, but I want to go back to that. That is one of our core activities that I would venture to say that most of us came in the door because of our reputation in social justice and the excitement of joining the Just Pensacola group gives us another opportunity to become more visible within the community in a group, but with the same goal to address criminal justice and address education in this area. But there, obviously, we all have different opinions and desires. So now, what do you see with the social justice program? Do you see a strength? Do you see a challenge? Or is this an opportunity?
Could you please speak directly into the microphone?
Yes. I like the diversity of causes that we often show up for, the festivals and the meetings and that kind of thing. But what I would like to see, I don't know how to say this. Usually when I'm at those actions, I see the same people at those actions, and those are people who are active in community issues and would be there whether or not it was for UUCP. And another thing is that a lot of times when there's a protest or something and, people from church go, it's hard to recognize that it's UUCP. So I would hope that we could get more people to go to these actions, and I would hope that we could find a way, wearing the on the side of love t-shirts or whatever, bringing the banners. I would hope we could present ourselves as a unified group that we could then invite people to join us in fighting for these issues.
Good point.
So I'm involved with Just Pensacola and really enthused over it, as are many of us here. The one thing I was going to mention as far as education goes is I worked at a place that advertised. It was a large place, but they advertised about mentors. I know that we have for kids in school. I know that we have people that participate in that, but we really don't have a format for encouraging people to volunteer to be mentors in schools. So that might be something to think about.
As far as recognizable, we don't all have T-shirts, but I have almost an infinite supply of these buttons that say justice on them. So when you're going to be out in public, people can say, you know, what is that? And you can tell them, or we'll be recognized.
It's really interesting that when you go to those meetings, our table is probably full, anywhere from 6 to 8 people at our table, and we look around at all the other congregations, may have 1 or 2, some have 4 or 5, and those are some of the huge congregations that are in this organization and structure. So we sit down, and one guy sat down and he drug himself there, and he said, "Where are you from?" "UUCP." "Where are you from?" "UUCP." "Where are you?" And around the table we were all, and we included him, whoever he was, but I thought it was eye-opening for me, and very much of a presence that we have. In numbers, we outnumber the people that show up at those meetings by congregation. Does that make sense? 20 congregations, they may have 1 or 2, maybe 3 people there. We have 6.
With the exception of First Methodist.
First Methodist is a big group. Sorry. See, I stand corrected. But hey, let's compare the percentages, and we're probably...
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that at that big meeting for Just Pensacola, that there was, I forget how many members we have, but it was around 36 members. The only one bigger was First United, but that was just because they were there. It was in their church. But that was, I'm sure, the only reason why, because they would have looked poorly if they didn't have a large number. But we had the biggest number of any other congregation that was out there. And then if you think that we only have 103 members. So I'm not a mathematician, but I mean, it seems pretty high, that percentage. It's at least 30, or at least a third, of our church was at that specific meeting. So it speaks highly of us.
Impressive. Yes.
I just wanted to say that I sat down and talked with the director. Yeah, okay, hey. I sat down and talked to the director at one point of the organization and highlighting some of what we are, and it was really interesting because it was insightful to hear her say that our group is so unique. And some of the things that we take for granted as things we stand up for, that a lot of churches are freaking out in this group about standing up on certain things. So again, the uniqueness of our organization stands out in contrast. And we are very progressive, and a lot of people, that's what keeps them away from churches, is that word. Someone said that earlier about the word. I think that can be a blockage too. Anyways.
Stewarding is a big subject for us, for our small congregation. But there are highlights that are good for us. Our budget has remained relatively steady for the past few years. The budget for 2019-20 is $134,000, and that's been the last couple of years. It's kind of maintained that amount. We rely on membership and membership pledges, as well as 3 major fundraisers. Vast majority of budgeted income comes through pledges. 7% of the budget is dependent on the fundraisers. About 10 households contribute the majority of the annual pledge that constitutes most of the church's budget. That is something that we should talk about as far as a strength, an opportunity, or a challenge. We hire out our office staff. We have paid office staff, custodial work, and regular yard maintenance. Programs such as the Children's Religious Education Program, child care, music, and social justice are funded by the church budget. A big expense that we have other than personnel is property and liability and workers' compensation insurance, which costs approximately $10,000. This includes wind insurance, which protects us in an event of a hurricane. I now open it up for discussion on the strengths, the opportunities, and the challenges.
As a former treasurer, thank you, of this congregation, yes, thank you. As a former treasurer of this congregation, I'm acutely tuned in to our needs to speak about money. I know it's something that people shy away from. It's a dirty word, but it costs money to pay the bills. We have insurance bills, we have utility bills, we have some people that are paid on a regular basis, and this is what helps us run our church. And we have other expenses that we don't even think about, our contributions to UUA, and I think we need to talk a little bit more about money. I think people need to be made a little more aware that it does take money to run a church. We do have expenses that have to be paid.
I want to echo what Billy said. As many of you know, when I was finance chair for years, we would have a dream budget and then we would have the real budget. And most of the time before we did the final budget, we would have to meet to cut, around $20,000 out of the budget. And so what happened is we would pay the wind insurance or whatever, we would pay the utilities, and we would pay the full-time minister. And then all the other categories basically got just very nominal or nothing. And so in my opinion, we couldn't afford a full-time minister several years before Julie left because we weren't doing the other things that I think partly sustains us. And my concern right now is when we went with the budget, when we didn't get a full-time minister, then we essentially developed a contract. My understanding is it's for a 3/4-time minister. And I realized that that may include just 20 sermons, but that's not, to me, that's one component of the job of minister. And I'm not sure that we've kind of used words gone from 3/4-time minister to contract minister, but my understanding is we've essentially paid the 3/4 contract per what UUA guidelines are. And so I just think we need to look at what we are shopping for, so to speak, in terms of, because we didn't really look at just getting a contract minister. We essentially got the minister from the pool that UUA had. So anyway, I'm just concerned about the rest of the responsibilities of being a minister, with our current package. Thank you.
I may be the only person that feels this way, but to me, it seems like when we have our congregational meeting and then the mid-year meeting, and we have the reports up on the PowerPoint of the budget, to me, it just seems like it's easy to forget about that when the meeting's over. And I don't know if this would help, but it would help someone like me to, and I don't have a good idea as to how to do this, but to have the reminders of the budget and, where it goes and what we need in front of us in some way. I think is it posted in the office? But, before I started working here, it never even occurred to me to go in the office and look. I don't have a good idea as to how we could do this, but I just think if we could be more invested in keeping that knowledge in front of us, because it underlies everything we try to do, everything we're talking about here today.
One of the things that I wonder about, and I don't know much about at all, is are we optimizing our assets? Like, are we really renting this building out as much as we could, both on a regular basis and on in other words, with steady groups, but also special things like weddings and other events? We have a pretty decent place here, and there's not a whole lot else maybe right around here. I just wonder if there's ways. We have, in some points in the past, we've done a little more with that than I'm aware of us doing. I'm just wondering if we can do more to optimize and monetize, as opposed to just trying to figure out how to get the membership to pay more.
Since that's one of the things I think about constantly, I'd like to address that. It does seem to me to be a good way to raise revenue. We do have a rental coordinator whose main function is to take care of the paperwork and make sure that there is an event host here during that time. But and she does receive a small compensation. And the reason I say it's small is because, to me, what we need is someone who can market us, someone who has ideas on how to do that and who will go and get it. Because I really do believe that's a way to make money, especially when it's an outside organization that wants to have a town hall kind of meeting. We are perfect for that. We've had a few of them, and they bring in a good bit. So somebody that wants to do that.
I'll try to talk directly into the mic. Okay. But on a positive note, we do have a charitable trust. When I lived in Hawaii, in Honolulu, the Unitarian Church there was in the same financial situation. They had a full-time minister. It was very difficult. And I think what they did is they lived on bequest. I know that this one woman who, she had lived in Honolulu for the long time. She had a very small house in Manoa, which was, when she passed away, it was well over $500,000. That money came to the church, and it was used for daily expenses. It's probably gone by now, and it lasted a few years, but that's the way some churches do it. But the financial plan for this organization, you have a charitable trust, and as far as I understand, the building's paid for. Okay, so that's tremendous assets and very good planning. We do have a small congregation, and having very few people who are financially able and willing to support over half the church expenses is very nice, but it's not a long-term practical goal, system, or plan. So we do need to discuss and think about the finances. But it's very positive.
I wanted to speak to the minister piece. We have been guided by the UUA, you're absolutely right, in what is appropriate and fair for congregations. When we were looking for a minister, and we actually did the search and some of those things a couple of years ago after Julie left, there were more congregations that needed ministers than there were ministers to serve. And so in that process, the board stepped back and reviewed. There wasn't anybody as a transition minister that was at a place to come to Florida to be with us. That was not possible at that point. At that point, they went to other churches, but they went to churches that were closer to where they were living and within commuting distances. So we were geographically undesirable, and we don't feel that way, but they come from Boston, we're geographically undesirable full-time. So consequently, we looked at what we could afford in the budget, and the UUA put out a broadcast and said, are there any ministers that would be interested in doing that, whether you're retired or part-time or whatever you want to do? And so that went out, including several in this area, Birmingham and Auburn area. So that was kind of where we started to have contact with Reverend Alice and began to have conversations back and forth as to whether this would work between us. And she was willing to commute here. We were geographically desirable for her. She felt like this was a good place on the coast that she would also enjoy being part-time away from her home. So that has sort of evolved over time. And we've looked at the budget every time. The contract went in that we would have her for a year. We did not promise a second year. We said, we'll see where we are financially. The second year, we were about the same place we were the year before. So we chose to keep Reverend Alice, as well as Reverend Alice saying, I like being here. There was a two-way street. I like your congregation. I want to be with you. We can work another year. So when Lauren became president and had conversation with her, again, that was where we were. Our finances are stable. We've been about the same for the last few years. This is the piece that we can afford. This is the contract, and we have been guided by UUA as to what is considered fair ministry compensation. So Lauren can probably speak to this better. She had the conversation, but
I just wanted to add something because it was mentioned. I think we've highlighted and we've lifted up a number of times about the 20 Sunday services, just to kind of give everyone an idea. That is the UUA's definition of three-quarter time, which I think is where a lot of confusion tends to come in. People think three-quarter time, okay, then you should be here 3 Sundays. Well, she's also entitled to a Sunday off, and that's how that all kind of, the math kind of works out. So 20 Sunday services out of a 52-week year is three-quarter time by the UUA's definition. So just try to disengage that from the idea of 3/4 of a month, if that makes any sense, in terms of what we're getting. But the 20 Sunday services is just one example, and the board has worked out a contract with Reverend Alice if anyone wants to look at it. So there are a list of about 20 items on that list that includes the things that she's responsible for, and the 20 services is just one item on that list. The other items on there have been kind of mentioned, but just to reiterate, it includes working with the board in terms of visioning and planning for the future. It includes working with the ministry teams, working with the Sunday services team, bringing the children and kind of revitalizing the children's involvement in Sunday services, and many other things that I'm not thinking of them right off the top of my head. But there's a 3-tiered list of priorities. So the contract does not just say, come here 20 Sundays a month, period, end of story. Pastoral care, leading rites of passage, all those kinds of things are a part of that. So there is much more to that contract. If there's a concern or just questions about it, we certainly can look at that. But just that we keep saying 20 Sunday services, but that's not the only thing on that contract. So just to make that clear.
The thing I was going to say was the memorial services. A memorial service doesn't occur. A memorial service is worked with a family, and the family works with her, and that can take weeks. A lot of time spent with, and generally it's not with one person, it's the brother and the aunt and the uncle, and they all come in and we meet. And so Reverend Alice has done that, and we've already mentioned several deaths in our community, and she has served all of those. that I'm aware of. I'm not aware of anybody that she hasn't served since she's been in our congregation. So, yes.
Another thought about making money is that we probably have quite a few people in here who have extra rooms in their homes, and with both homecomings, the UU version of Airbnb and actual Airbnb, we might consider doing what many congregations are doing, which is have people offer space and be part of systems where you can offer space. This is a very hot town right now. I don't know if others of you are deeply involved as I am with Civicon and a lot of the things going on about Pensacola booming and growing and being listed as best this and first this, but it's incredible. I mean, this town has just passed up Asheville, and that's amazing. So we could be riding that, perhaps, especially since we have a lot of older people who are still in, I'm not one of them, with a space. I wish I were. I'm one of the old ones, but I'm not one with a space, and I wish I were. I'd love to do Airbnb.
Is it okay if I bring it up? I hope, would it be okay if I announced what you're doing? Sharing your home. Yes. Leslie and Bob have shared their home the 6 months that they were gone. And Reverend Alice stayed there. And that was a way of helping with the compensation without it being financially increased to help her with being here. So Bob and Leslie have did agree to do that last year. I'm sure that's still negotiable. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah. It did work out. Okay, great. And when you're gone, sometimes it's nice to have people in your home that are there on a regular basis. Any other questions with this? We do not want to go until 10 o'clock tonight. We are not the House of Representatives at the federal level, and we will move on to a couple other things unless there's just a burning desire to say something. Okay.
The charitable trust has been brought up a couple of times, but just to give you some highlights of what it is and what it does for us. It just celebrated its 30th anniversary in 2018, and the trust is available to the church for loans to meet obligations. The way the trust is set up at the moment is that there is a fund that is available to the church to use at their discretion. They ask for it. It's their money. It's held in the trust, but it is UUCP's money for things that need to be paid for that are not really our budget doesn't meet. And it could be the difference between last year's insurance premium was $8,000 and then it jumped to $10,000, that kind of thing. But that's our money, but it's held in the trust. And then there is availability to borrow from the trust. And we did borrow from the trust to purchase the new air conditioners. And so there's two different things, but that trust is really our financial. It's our future. It is what we have available to us by the good thoughts and ideas of people in this congregation 30 years ago. They put this together for us, and it keeps us, it really is something that can be, other congregations are envious of our good financial basis. So,
can you go on to buildings and grounds?
Let's do buildings and grounds because there's a lot to go with that.
And can I say one thing about the charitable trust and the air conditioners?
Yes.
How many of you know how many air conditioners we bought? We bought 2 air conditioners. And how many did we receive? We received 3 air conditioners because they made a mistake. So we got 3 air conditioners for the price of 2. Am I correct, Jerry, with that?
Well, actually, it's 2 for the price of 1.5.
It's 2 for the price of 1.5, but we have 3 air conditioners. We have 3 new air conditioners in a very good deal. Something happened, they made a mistake, we gained. So Jerry negotiated that. It was great. Okay. Billy?
I just wanted to say one more thing about the trust. I would like it to see some little small blurb in each month's light that reminds people that we do have a charitable trust and that they can contribute as a memorial to someone who's passed away or who's had a birthday. And it's not just, for big events, but for small events. And those things add up. And if we would remind people that it's available to them to give in that way, I think it'd be helpful.
We could give in honor of Trista's starting her seminary.
Buildings and grounds.
All right, buildings and grounds. And it kind of falls under stewarding, I believe anyway. This building was purchased in 1995, and the building is 40 years old. We do not have a mortgage. Members and friends have generously donated time and money for various renovations, including the sanctuary renovation, kitchen remodel, new metal roof, remodeling of the women's restroom. But the building is aging, and continual work is necessary to maintain. We have some things on the horizon: power washing the exterior and painting, sanctuary carpet clean and replacing of damaged tiles, carpet tiles, painting the foyer, sealing and cleaning the windows, replacing the storage shed, and replacing it with something that is secure, that allows removal of items stored within the building. And we are at capacity. Our storage is, it's not pretty. We're replacing the Route 29 sign, and today that was announced. You can vote on the choices that are out there. We're really excited about that. But all of these items are known and needed. It's not an all-inclusive list, but some are already in process. Buildings and Grounds does not presently have a designated leader.
So who's working on it?
Well, there's a husband and wife team that we know of, yes.
Do they do anything else in the building?
As well as many other people. But really, there are a lot of helpers. It would be nice to have a point person. So anyway, but that's private. But these are things that are costly, and we have to work. We work within our budget to meet those obligations. In business, I would do reports, and you would have this kind of a code term, meeting your obligations and paying them on time. So we do that, but this building needs attention all the time. It's not something that you can ignore and let it go. Any comment?
Yeah, one comment is that we're doing a straw vote on this sign. It's not necessarily going to be publicized that the X sign got chosen. We're just trying to get a sense of, preferences. And a lot of times you use hold firm to, I voted, I want a response. But it's really a straw poll, just kind of a sense of which of those is the most attractive to you so you may not hear follow-up of 5 of these and 3 of those, just FYI. And tell other people. One of the things I think happens with UU churches is one person knows about it and 5 people don't, but you don't share with the 5 people that don't. So somebody says, well, I don't like such and such, but the one that knows doesn't speak up and share the information. That's really powerful when it comes through other people. Buildings and grounds, questions and thoughts. You know, I think the thing about buildings and grounds that I struggle with and that I find is where do we put our money for ministry? And where do we put our money to maintain our building? And it's always a challenge to care for the building, but also realize that it's really in the people that we're wanting to reach out to, whether that's the Children's RE program or whether that's just Pensacola in our ministry week, you know, and there's a balance between those. Yes.
I see a difference in the people that come into the church today in comparison to those of us who joined many years ago. At one time, everybody was a volunteer. We volunteered to people clean the church. Volunteer people did the yard work. One guy came in and every week he mowed the lawns, and somebody else took care of the things. And Laurie Winterberg was great with the memorial garden. But all this was done with volunteer work, and I don't see, and I don't know whether it's a generational thing or not, but I don't see volunteers coming out to do a lot of the work that was done that today we pay for.
Yes.
I would just like to comment on buildings and grounds. Ray Achterberg, Leslie's husband, proposed when I was on the board that we put aside, I don't remember exactly, but something like $5,000 a year in a savings account, off budget, because of the issue of just the building needing things. And, in other words, what I'm trying to say is, we kind of need a charitable trust for buildings and grounds. That idea that was part of that 21,000 that we had to cut. We didn't have room to put that money away. And I think, we all do that in our own personal lives. We put money away. So when our homes or whatever need something, we can cover it. So anyway, thank you.
Any other comments or thoughts? It is impressive that as a church we have a savings account. Imagine.
All right. Final area just to raise up for everybody. Learning and taking action is the title. UUCP offers CRE and AE. AE is adult education for those who don't know those terms. We have CREC, leadership, and dedicated parents along with volunteers who lead and teach the children. We have 18 students enrolled in CRE. And that's a great number. That is really, exciting to have that. And dedication to curricula and activities shows the progress in attendance. We offer Our Whole Lives. UUCP has completed or led 3 complete OWL age-level sexuality education classes. 20 have completed the classes, and 8 of those 20 are from non-member families, and they come specifically for the OWL program. Adult education is ongoing work. We offer regular second hour. This is education for you. You are totally being inundated with a lot of information. You can go home and sleep it off. And it includes a variety of things, books, discussions on topical subjects, and related to our UU principles. Also, prior to the service, we offer coffee and conversation, which also offers a variety of conversation subjects available. So we have a strong foundation here. But this is a time, because of the change in our ministry, so to speak, and a good opportunity. I hope that you have felt that this was worthwhile time spent to get to know UUCP and what we have. Families and visitors who come here are looking for a spiritual home and social support of the community for themselves as well as their children. Offering a spiritual home is our why. And there you go.
Questions and thoughts, reflections on what's happening here. It occurred to me when we were talking about Aaron, when we were talking about the children's program, they did the pageant a couple weeks or week or so ago, and before that, when we've done some other intergenerational services, which is and has been a directive of Reverend Alice. With that in mind, my experience was that I saw people in the congregation I had no idea were even associated with our church. So their child was up here, perhaps one of their parents helps with the children's program, but the other person in the family or the other 2 or 3 people in the family are not participating. But when the children are here and in the service actively, then that brings in the other people that are associated with that child. So part of really ministry at this point for the growth of our church is probably through the children. It is through, those 2 teenagers back there saying we need a few more teenagers. And if you get younger children, a lot of times you also get some teenagers because they have older siblings, if they know that there's somebody here that's interesting and fun. So a lot of times, I think, as an older congregation at times, hearing voices, sounds, children in the service can make us feel differently, with the idea that we keep in mind that those are the sounds that bring those other people in. And I thought it was really poetic. There was a small child, an infant, in the service last week while the pageant was going on, chattering in the background in the biblical. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's great. Here we have a baby talking about the pageant in his own words or her own words. Erin, you had some.
My statement was just a little bit more general about this whole situation. Most of us who are joyfully serving this church, we don't just dabble in it, we're up to our necks in it. And sometimes we can get a little bit insulated from the fact that not everybody knows everything like we do. We forget that not everyone's in the board meetings and not everyone is on the email threads and doesn't always know what's going on. Please ask questions of your leadership. Please don't walk away with questions in your mind or confusions or grumbles or anything. You're always welcome at board meetings. You are always welcome at ministry team meetings. You are always welcome to tap someone on the shoulder and say, hey, what's going on with this? Please always ask questions, because we sometimes forget that the lines of communication are not flowing as fully as they should.
Any other thoughts and ideas? Okay.
Thank you all.
May it be. In case some of you don't have printers, I have articles that Lauren wrote for The Light. She did a great job. We printed off a few. If any of you would like a hard copy just to read, you're welcome to take it with you.